welcome back to the program. It's Capital Market. Join us on Twitter at CTV Tempili and of course at Channels CTV, at Channels TV if you need to leave some lines for us. Now, we know that amidst the weak sentiment we're seeing in the market, we've seen some developments in the corporate governance structure of companies. Recently, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, for example, excluded NEM Insurance from the NSE 30 components following the related development. Together with our guest, the Managing Director of Kairos Capital, Sam Chidoka, we'll look at these events and other related developments in the market. Sam, thank you for sticking around. So let's look at this issue between NEM Insurance and, of course, VFD Group, which recently exited that particular company, that's NEM Insurance. 30%, it was a 30% holder in NEM Insurance and decided to now move out. Now we know that VFD is also has done its own rights issue, done some kind of private placements to the tune of 2.7 billion naira, even though they were looking for 2 billion naira. So what does this say about the exit of NEM Insurance from the NSE 30 components of the stock exchange?
Okay, so for on that transaction, I think it's important to mention that Kairos were financial advisors to VFD Group in all of this. We worked with them in exiting their investment in NEM. We worked with them also in the rights issue. We worked with them in a private placement that raised 2.7 billion. I mean, we're going to raise 1 billion in rights and 1 billion in private placement, but they were both oversubscribed, which speaks to the confidence existing and new investors have in the brand. But on the NEM insurance bit, so the VFD Group always had the intent, strategic intent to play in the insurance space. Yeah. And NEM was seen as a company they could play with. And so they bought a stake, formed a consortium, invested in NEM, bought up to 30%. But then again, I think there was some ideological misunderstanding in terms of how to proceed going forward with the company. You will note that NEM had an AGM and tried to raise funds and pass some resolutions. Yeah. And a 30% holder of the company was not involved in that whole process. So there was a back and forth with the SEC, NSE involved, and I think that's what led to the NSE taking that decision. But be that as it may, today, VFD Group and the other consortium that came together to form the 30% holding in NEM have exited. VFD Group has also raised money from the equities capital market. Yeah. In a year when the market lost 19%, both offers were oversubscribed. Other companies in 2018 have only done a rights issue, but I think there are maybe a few companies that had the temerity to go to the market because there was blood on the streets. But VFD Group, being a strong brand, gone to the market, raised 2.8 billion naira.
Why was it really necessary to raise such funds eventually in the first place?
So it's strategic once again. So for the VFD Group, the next phase is, so now the strategic decision to go into the insurance space has been put on hold for now. And the next phase for them is to play in the commercial banking space.
Right.
So they're hopeful that maybe they'll start with the regional banking space and from there grow it to become a full-blown commercial bank. And so the idea to do that was realize the investment from them and then raise fresh capital from discerning investors, which has happened. Combine that with existing capital that the company has. As of today, VFD Group probably has somewhere around 7 billion in shareholders fund, about 15 billion in balance sheet size. So the next play is the commercial banking space.
So you're going to bring Ivadan Group, you're going to bring, that's Ivadan being the subsidiary and of course the Bureau de Change kind of, and then bring in the microfinance and every other aspects, square them up, and then it becomes a commercial bank. Now, why didn't you do some kind of an IPO? You know, why a rights issue?
Okay, so first of all, the companies you mentioned, Everdan, MFP, the MFP, VFD MFP, Germain Motors, and Korea Asset Management are all subsidiaries of the VFD Group presently, and the group does exist. So now it is the group that has raised funds. The group intends to list sometime this year on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
In an election year?
Yes, it's a show of confidence. It's a show of confidence. Elections will come and go, but business will
absolutely.
continue. And so the group intends to list sometime this year on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And when that happens, then whether the group will do a public offer or not will be strategically decided.
So what should investors start watching out for in the event it becomes listed in the exchange? Yeah, we know you're involved in, I think, private equity financing, venture capital, and a whole lot of financial services.
So for the VFD group, they're involved in, it's mainly a finance-focused group, but also has investments. So I look at them like an investment vehicle that sees good investments, taps into those investments to make benefits for discerning shareholders who are part of the VFD group. Not to, even if I may say so myself, yes, we are their financial advisors, but we do say that we've worked with a lot of firms over time, and we find this to be a unique firm that is run by people with good heads on their shoulder. Over the past 10 years, the group has constantly met and surpassed budgets, and hopefully they'll continue running that trajectory. So for anybody who is discerning and needs to invest in a group that is diversified, so in the diversification, you're mitigating risks. Where there's risk in this aspect of their business, the other aspect of the business is covering it up. And in the whole business, it's a strategic fit to build a group that fits, and every company in the group speaks to itself. So for discerning investors, I'd say just watch out for VFD Group.
So what's in the market for you? Because a lot of time companies come listing by introduction. And the moment they get there by introduction, they remain static. There are so many companies, they came in at 62 Naira, they're still trading at 62 Naira over a year now. So what's in this market for VFD, and of course, the fact that you want to list?
Well, for us, we intend to bring them to the market and list on the market to expand the frontier of what is possible. So if, for instance, they wanted to raise money in the future, it will not be a public offering, allowing more people to be able to invest in the company. So the first process is that it's going to go PLC. After going PLC, we will list the company on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. And I dare say that it's a good company. We've seen them do very well over the past few years. We expect that they will continue that trajectory.
But there was a bit of losses last year,
well,
2017 precisely.
Yes, and that was also strategic on the part of the company, in the sense that in the past years, what has happened is the company has constantly invested, has been making huge investments in diverse companies. Now those investments are beginning to coalesce, and those investments are beginning to bring returns into the group. Okay. So what you're going to see is the benefit of the diversified nature of the group. And so we're hopeful that when we take them to the market, it won't be one that will be stagnant. And we're hopeful that...
Any major expectation from regulators, the SEC, the NSE, the major players?
Well, in terms, we do not expect that we'll have any issues with any of the regulators. We expect, as a matter of fact, we've been having discussions with the regulators, especially the NSE. We're representing the VFD Group, especially in a meeting next week to discuss with the NSE about the possibilities and the process of listing the company on the NSE. And so we do not expect, rather, what you expect is that the regulators are excited because, I mean, think about it. In 2018, I believe there was just one listing, if I remember correctly. 2019, there's been none so far. Yeah. So they are excited to see. So we expect to bring VFD, we expect to bring other companies.
So SACO will come in before you, and then subsequently, we should watch out for VFD Group. This is like a promise, right?
Watch out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on Capital Market. I appreciate your time. Sam Chidoka, Managing Director of Kairos Capital. And that's all the time we've got this weekend. Watch out for the Nigerian Stock Exchange's World Press Conference on the 2018 review and, of course, 2019 market outlook. I'm Temple Ashaju. Thank you for being a part of the program. I'll see you next time.